It's actually quite sad that you find a 3-year-old or a 4-year-old is online for like 6 hours.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's a real addiction. And without it, they can't do anything. They can't function. Yeah.
I was actually reading a report where there's very many young people today who cannot finish a 2-hour movie. Or a 1-hour movie, you know. And
Because they're addicted to the TikTok 1-minute videos.
The 1-minute video. If we cannot explain something in 1 minute, they don't want to watch it.
For the children right now in this age, what is their favorite, or what is the higher platform that they use?
I'd say, okay, I work within the social media space, so I'd say TikTok, because even research shows that like 53%, especially in Kenya, 53% of TikTok users are Kenyans.
Wow.
So, which tells you, yeah, we're literally the highest.
The highest in the TikTok platform.
Yes.
Okay.
So that tells you everybody is over there. Yeah, I don't know what other, maybe YouTube Kids, especially to access maybe
the music in for music children, etc.
Yeah.
Pearl Radio, the home of fresh and classic hits.
It is the second hour on Pearl Kids with me, Auntie J, on Pearl Radio 96.9 FM, the home of fresh and classic hits. And we are on an important discussion or conversation this morning. We are talking about Safer Internet Day 2025, a day that is celebrated every 11th of February every year. And what does it mean? It means just we focus on online safety and well-being of children and the young people. Sitaki kuwa na maneno mengi because I have amazing guests in studio who are going to now just help us to understand what this Safer Internet Day is all about. And then now we get to know how our children are going to be safe on the internet because they are users. The internet came so that we can learn something. Yeah, it is a good thing. But also there are dangers to it. So we want to know the dangers. And as a parent, how can you help your child to be safe? And a child, as you use the internet platform, how can you be safe? We have had cases of children, getting, liking people, sending photos that are very, not really good. And then, some of them get trafficked out of the country or even to other places, to other counties. They get lost. So how can we be able to help our children be safe on the internet, even as they use it for the good of it? So my friend out there, please tune in, just sit tight and listen. If you have any question, it is your opportunity to ask today. 0701 969 969 is the number to call, and 0702 969 969 is the number to text if you have any question today. Sawa. Karibuni sana.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. So, habari ya asubuhi?
Mzuri sana.
Yeah.
How was yesterday?
Yesterday was amazing. Yeah.
Did you celebrate Valentine?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Probably we begin with introduction. Introduce ourselves so that our listener can be able to know who we have in studio.
All right. Good morning. My name is Charlene Muthuri. I am a technology and human rights campaigner at Amnesty International.
Karibu sana.
Thank you.
Thank you once again, Auntie J. My name is Lazarus Mudhenya, Programs Manager, Editab Africa, and it is indeed nice to be here.
Karibu sana. So we have this very important conversation that we want to have right now in terms of being safe on the online platform. So probably we can start us off with what is it about the internet? What do we know about the internet? Why are we talking about it today? Yes.
Okay. Thank you so much. So the internet as it is, if I may ask you what the internet is, many of us have an idea or have an understanding of what the internet is. I might not have a textbook definition, but just in a nutshell, or
Yes.
very briefly, the internet is just a global computer network, just like that. So it allows for communications, and something interesting that I just learned recently, which comes from the name internet. So we have the inter and the network. So you understand what the network is. It means there's a connection, yeah. But now the interbit, which is very, very interesting, is it is a mutual connection. So it talks about the mutual connection of the internet. Think of it this way. For you to get information from the internet, you need to send information. So there is the sending and receiving of information. So the traffic doesn't flow one way. So the internet is a very amazing place. It has so many benefits, most of which we know. We talk about you can learn online, you can interact with people, you can talk to them. And actually, some of us are even making a living from the internet.
Yes.
So there are so many amazing things about the internet, and there are also risks. And I think that's partly the reason why we are, or majorly the reason why we are here today.
Yes. Okay. Professor Lynn, a bit of it.
Yeah, so for me, I think just to piggyback off of what Lazarus has said, yeah, so the internet is just generally a global network, I guess, of it's just a global network that helps us like sort of connect to people around us, to people away from us, to just basically do anything really. Make music, create, I don't know, whatever, talk to people, learn as well. And so yeah, that's basically what the internet is, what it helps us do, and it's a good thing as well. That is one thing I think we keep sort of, sometimes we forget that the internet is not necessarily like this terrible, horrible place for children and young people. It is a good place.
It's
and
a
so
good place.
yeah, organizations like EduTab, Amnesty exist to make it like a safe, supportive space as well, because we do all I guess at some point in our lives, like we will interact with the internet at some point, and so it's important to make it safe and supportive even for children.
Okay.
Yeah.
So currently, if we could look at the statistics, how what age are the children accessing the internet? What range? At what particular age? Between
as
which
early
age?
as 1 or 2, by the way.
Ah.
Yeah.
Okay, 1 or 2 years,
Yes.
and then onwards.
Yeah.
Yes, so we are saying that the internet has numerous advantages to it: learning, making music, making money.
Yeah.
But again, there are risks.
Yeah.
So we want to discuss on this risk in terms of the children who are accessing, because if you say that at the age of 1, children are already accessing internet, what are the safety, security that they need to have, or what are the dangers of them accessing internet at that young age?
Yeah, they're actually quite a lot. Just like we have, allow me to use the term offline and online.
Okay.
You see all the dangers that are there offline. Imagine all of them have been transferred online, and it even gets worse. So we are just talking with Charlene in the morning about the fact that 1 out of 3 users in the world, so internet users, is a child. So that's a third. So let's look at it at a global scale. So we are looking at over 8 billion people in the entire world. So it's a third of that. So more than 2.5 billion people are children. But that's not the problem. The issue is most of them don't know how to stay safe online. Some of them don't even know what the internet is, yet they're using it. We are having this discussion with some children a few days ago, and I asked them how they use the internet. They say they don't use the internet. Then I asked them how do they communicate with their friends or their family. They say they use WhatsApp. They use Instagram, they use TikTok. And I'm like, but you said you don't use the internet. And they said, yes, we don't use the internet. So I asked them, so what's the internet? So you realize that a good number of them first don't understand what the internet is. To them, the internet is maybe Google or YouTube.
Okay.
So it comes back to helping them understand. So the first problem is some don't know. what the internet is, so they don't know what they're getting themselves into.
Okay.
If you allow me, so there's a few risks that are there. Not a few, there are quite a number, but if I can just mention a few.
Yes.
So we've heard of cyberbullying, for example. So whatever bullying is, now look at it from a cyber perspective. So someone is online, and the reason why it even gets worse, there's always this aspect of anonymity. So you find that it's easier for me, let's say, to bully you because you can't see me or you can't get where I am. So imagine a child is being bullied by someone, let's say in Europe, and they're here in Kenya. So how are you going to deal with that?
Okay.
We have so many other risks. We have things like online grooming, for example. Yeah, and you get children are getting to meet with people online, strangers. Some are not even strangers, but you find that now it becomes even easy for them to be lured into such. The other bit is we know of sextortion, for example. We know of sexting. So, and all these are things which are already risks in life. And you see that there is no difference with what is happening online. It's just that online it's much broader, and it's much harder for them to, let's say, know who is doing this, or even to know how credible the person they are talking with. Some other problems is the inappropriate contents that we have online. There are quite a number. There's no need for me to go into detail about that. So there is so much inappropriate content, and it's quite sad because you find that 1 out of 5, no, not even 1 out of 5, like in Kenya, the children who are online, for example, 20% of the time, now this is 20% of the time they are online, which is quite a big chunk.
Yes, that is quite.
They are usually accessing inappropriate content, for example.
Wow.
And you realize that this is just 20%. I'm not saying that they're online 20%, but this is like, imagine 20% of their day is just for inappropriate content. So what do you think happens in the other 80, for example? Yeah. So the other thing is things like internet addiction. We adults are we're already victims of the same. So you find that it's actually quite sad that you find a 3-year-old or a 4-year-old is online for like 6 hours, and it's like it's a real addiction, and without it they can't do anything, they can't function.
Wow, those are many risks, which are very in-depth. I don't know, Charlene, in terms of, now we hear of the 20% spending their time on the internet, what would you advise, probably for the children now, before we go to the parents?
I think first of all, before we even get to what they'd advise the parents and the children, Amnesty International did a research. We published a report back in November 2023 on, the mental health concerns, especially for TikTok users. Majority of whom, by the way, are children.
Wow.
And are young people. And the one thing that was coming out is the fact that there is the internet addiction is actually very real. It's a very real problem, because when we interviewed the children, they were just like, and this is like maybe in high schools mostly, and they were like, we spend around 5-6 hours on TikTok, and we were just like, why? Just like, no, we're just mindlessly, scrolling. Watching 1-minute videos, and you see how that can also affect even their concentration span. For example, you find that I was actually reading a report where there's very many young people today who cannot finish a 2-hour movie or a 1-hour movie, and
because they're addicted to the TikTok 1-minute videos.
The 1-minute video, if we cannot explain something in 1 minute, they don't want to watch it.
Wow.
And so the problem that we discovered then, when we did like a couple investigative elements, was the fact that, first of all, it's not just the parents and the children's responsibility, it's also a responsibility on these apps to be able to put regulations and measures in place for children to be able to, first of all, access child-friendly content, because you find that, especially at that time, for TikTok, even if the children were putting their age on the platform, they could still access adult content. That's a problem.
Yeah, that's a problem.
And then the fact that also there's the mindless scrolling is because the For You page is personalized to fit, certain specific content that is designed to kind of help, to make you want to keep
Scrolling and scrolling.
That's a second problem, because you see, for a child, if as a 12-year-old I am able to access maybe adult content that is probably gonna affect my mental health in some way, it's gonna infer and influence how I think, my opinions, my views about life, and that's not right. It's no app, no content should be able to do that for children, which is why, like, as parents, as teachers, as guardians, as organizations, we kind of like need to step up to be able to, advocate for, safe even if it's, TikTok is fine. Social media is fine, but it needs there's safeguards that needs to be put in place for, to be able to protect children, to be able to protect young people. And so the one thing I think I'd advise, parents and teachers is to be able to, understand the safeguards that they kind of need to put in place for, for children. How long do you want them to access the internet for? Because you cannot obviously lock them out of it forever. How long? What kind of, you need to also know what kind of content are they accessing, and also what can you control as a parent? What do they need to watch? What don't they need to watch? Another thing I think I need to mention is the fact that, but there you find the fact that whatever social media that is used for children in Europe and in the global north is not the same as the global south. By the way.
Okay.
Because there are these like stricter regulations, there's stricter laws. So why can't we? But we don't get that in the global south, largely because our regulators are not necessarily, putting pressure and putting force on these companies to be able to do that. So that is another thing. Now it falls back on, parents to be able to be like, okay, this is this is appropriate for my child. This is not appropriate for my child. Yeah.
But then again, the children themselves are very cheeky and tricky. So how to get them to follow the rules or the parent that has set is kind of difficult. But I would also ask, what are the most used platforms right now with the children, so that probably the parent may know? Because I know Facebook has been there, there's Instagram, there's TikTok, but for the children right now in this age, what is their favorite, or what is the higher platform that they use?
I'd say, okay, I work within the social media space, so I'd say TikTok, because even research shows that like 53%, especially in Kenya, 53% of TikTok users are Kenyans.
Wow.
So, which tells you, we're literally the highest.
The highest in the TikTok platform.
Yes.
Okay.
So that tells you everybody is over there. I don't know what other, maybe YouTube Kids, especially to access maybe
the music in the for music children, etc.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm actually just amazed that Kenyans. It's really, true.
Yes. Okay. So probably the safety measures for the children now, because we know at one point they're cheeky and they're tricky. The parents could have set the regulations, but how best can they handle that? Yes.
So one of the things that we do is we always like to sensitize the children as well. They are also important when it comes to ensuring that they are safe online. We don't want to have the parent always following your children. I like this saying, you don't prepare the road for your child, you prepare a child for the road. So that is fairly important when it comes to online safety. So the child is also responsible. I know they cannot necessarily be accountable for what they do because maybe of their age, but in some instances they are held accountable, which I believe we'll maybe talk more about later. But one of the things that we do is we always like to introduce kids to the internet in a way that will help them understand how it is to be responsible. They need to be engaged in this conversation as well. We have some various do's and don'ts for the children, and at the top we usually have do not share your personal information. Anything that identify you in a unique way is not something that you should leave out in public. For example, why should you give why should you go to TikTok, for example, and you give your full name, your home address, your phone number, the school you go to? No, this is danger. So that's one of the things that we sensitize the children about, telling them that there is good reason why we have nicknames, for example. There is good reason why we have usernames, and some information isn't relevant for you to make public. The other things is also ensuring that they understand that they need to be safe online, the same way they are told do not talk to a stranger.
Exactly.
When you go to school, for example, when you're outside playing, it's the same thing online. Do not talk to strangers or give them information, or even do not even meet with them. It's one of the things that we also tell the parents, even if it's a relative or maybe someone they've met online, do not allow them to meet, no matter how much you trust them.
Yes.
Things happen. So it becomes very important for the children to understand first how to keep themselves safe online, and how to ensure that they themselves are not the perpetrators. I was giving an analogy earlier on about you call to school that there's been a bullying incident involving your child, and you're going there, where is the bully? Then you're told your child is the bully.
You get shocked.
Yeah. So they also need to understand how to behave when they're online. They need to be mindful. They need to be respectful. They don't need to be the people who are making other people not be safe online. And that's the layer for the children. And the most important bit when it comes to these risks is to tell them to not try to handle them on their own.
Okay.
Sometimes you find that a child is trying to fight a bully. That should not happen. What should happen is they should always have a trusted adult that they can report to. So the most important thing is that the trusted adult, not just any adult.
A trusted
someone
adult
that they can trust and they can run to. And that's the layer for the children.
Okay.
Yes.
96.9 FM, Pearl Radio.